Hello and welcome to Audionautic. My name is Curtis.
And I'm Sunwarper. What's going on, man?
Oh, mate, I tell you, right? Like, whoever thought that you could move to another part of the world and be set up within about 3 days? They're fucking lying to you. It's just bullshit.
Man, I moved just to another county and I'm not going to be set up for another month, so I don't
Well,
know who gave you that lie.
well, maybe it's just my naivety. Maybe that's what it is. But no, it's
Perhaps.
we
But
get.
you've moved countries before.
I know, but when I moved out to Vietnam, I literally moved out with a backpack, and that's all I moved. That's all I
Ah.
moved. I had a backpack, and that's it. And
Do you have two backpacks this time?
this time I had two suitcases, one full of gear and one full of clothes. Yeah, and then everything is like move into Vietnam. When it comes to the visas and stuff, they're like, yeah, sure, come in, do whatever you want to do, whatever. And then you move to a European country, and suddenly you've got to have health insurance. Suddenly you've got to have taxation records. Suddenly you've got to have some form of legitimacy for what you're doing. But anyway, the it's getting there. Ash is on her way. She gets here on. We're recording this on the 9th, and she gets here on the 13th. And Steve will be here on the around about the 1st of December. And then my
I think you meant to say the Audionautic mascot, Steve the cat.
He is, yeah. So the mascot himself will be here by December, and everything will be
There
right
we
with
go.
the world.
All right.
But it's cool. Yeah. What about you? What you been doing?
Trying to figure out what I can do with a computer and headphones. I'm making it work though. I'm making it work. I actually was able to plug in my bass and do this little bass improv a couple days ago. So it's kind of nice having these odd limitations that you have to work around. I mean, I'd much rather have my synths and guitars just around me, but you got to work with what you're given.
Yeah, and I mean, you'll be. I suppose you'll be thankful for when you get the studio back in that sense. But
Yeah, it gives a whole new sense of gratitude when
yeah.
when I'll have everything back.
So I mean, have you
For
been?
sure.
What have you been mixing up? What have you? I mean, how have you been dealing with this limitation within yourself?
Well, I have a couple of ideas that I started before I moved. One was this little guitar tapping thing, so I chopped it up and made this little lo-fi beat out of it.
Cool.
And then I did another thing where I recorded a internet archive orchestra, that was a vinyl recording.
Oh,
I
yeah.
recorded it with the speakers on my phone to give it this really weird airy sound. And so I chopped up one little chord and then repitched it, and then I added some synths of my own. So yeah, it's kind of fun just using these weird experiments while I can't really play on a keyboard or something. I mean, I have a MIDI keyboard that's laying around, but I don't really have the space to put it anywhere at the moment. So
Yeah, that's fair. For people listening at home, Michael is very much around everything that's going on. There is just all the sense of moving into the house. It's all there.
yeah,
And
I've got a dishwasher and a vacuum behind me, and while talking to Jupiter, I had the idea of trying to record the dishwasher for percussion and repitching the vacuum to have a drone.
so wait, hang on, you haven't done that yet?
Not yet.
Ah,
No.
come
We
on.
did talk to him yesterday. I've had other things to do.
It's been a whole 24 hours, my friend. But anyway, I mean, you're getting on though. You're getting on, and you'll be there. And
Yeah.
after you're done, you're gonna have a whole load of click and what are they? Click and points, click and click. No,
I
I'll
don't
start
know,
again.
point and click.
Point and click. You're
You're
gonna have a
getting
load
there.
of point and
You're
click
getting
ways
there.
there. I'll get there. Being in a new place, has it given you any sense of fresh inspiration, or are you still in that kind of headspace of got to get stuff done, got to get stuff done?
Well, first of all, I've been able to play my acoustic a little more, and I haven't really played acoustic in about 4 years because of shoulder injuries. So it's nice to play that.
Cool.
That gives a little new sense of sound and style. And then I don't know, I've just been kind of thinking about release schedules, and as we've talked with a lot of artists and did our last deep dive and roundups, I'm kind of changing my tune on the frequency of releases and how to make a release special.
Well, keeping the quality over the quantity, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, when I did my session for LFM a couple of weeks ago, I pulled out 2 songs from I think 2015 to restructure and remix, and these are songs from my last project, Celeste. And looking at the project, it was interesting to see. I did a lot of like little FX snippets. Like I would chop a part of the guitar, slow it down or speed it up, and then loop it and do these like really weird, like loop it once and then reverse it the next time and then normal, then reversed. So there's all these like little risers and new sounds and stuff. And when you're trying to release more frequently, I mean, I still do some of it, but I kind of want to have that time to be like, oh, let me experiment and try this, and let me experiment with this, instead of just like, oh, I want to speed up the guitar here and make that little effect.
I get you. Like, I mean, the similar to what we were saying with Dupes, like the idea that the experimentation is the fun part, isn't it? And without it,
Yeah.
once you become stuck in your way, and almost and you're just churning stuff out. Not only are you going to suffer as a musician, but also your fans, because you're just churning stuff out.
I think this type of release schedule is a product of the streaming age, and like playlists and playlist placements.
It is, and it does, and you're completely right. I think it's something that is slowly becoming more apparent, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I mean, we don't have to. Once you realize it, you can take a step back and work with it. You know?
Yeah. I think it's just that stress that it can create, where it's like, oh, I got to have something new out. That's the only thing that is,
totally. I completely.
like it adds anxiety to the artist.
It does, yeah. This week, as far as the paradox is concerned, we both have and will have a chat with Jupiter. Isn't that right?
That is right. There's some really good takeaways from the talk with Jupiter.
I agree. And I mean, he's a very well-spoken lad, and he's got some very, very interesting things to say. I was amazed at his ability to kind of just write to visuals in a kind of way. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too deep. We'll have to let them listen to that. But I mean, the way that starting from a visual perspective as opposed to a sonic perspective, that's just, absolutely, it's very enchanting. Should we cut to his feed?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you've come at an interesting time, Alex. This is when both of us have just made our massive moves and we're setting up in new studios and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, as you can tell, this is not my studio. This is
I was going to say.
That dishwasher makes all my drones. I just record it. The vacuum, I just pitch. Be like, the distorted guitars and stuff.
Yeah, easy. You should give that a go, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just pull, stretch it out. It'd be good.
Yeah, well, Spectre would be proud.
He would.
What a man.
That's cool. All right. Well, okay. Michael, have you got the bio there?
I do. So Jupiter is the ambient project of Alex Glynn, a producer, multi-instrumentalist, composer, and member of Circus Canon, presently based in London, England. His music is based on slow, nostalgic compositions with field recordings, affected guitars, elaborate soundscapes, organs, and analog synths. Jupiter is based on deep electronic sound design marked by synths, arpeggios, glitchy undertones, and evolving sequences. Jupiter is a self-contained independent artist, creating all of his work, film, and video game scores, and releasing its respective attributes, including the composition, artwork, recording, mixing, and mastering.
How you doing, man?
I am so proud. That's a long bio,
that's
dude.
Good.
Like
that's
me
right, that one.
Oh, there you go. Most of the bios we get are super short, to the point. And I always like the creative, imaginative ones that are long and really give a depth to the person.
Well, that's it. Sometimes that's all you have. Sometimes you got 5 seconds to sell yourself,
It's true.
Or a minute.
What's that, elevator pitch? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
you got a nail on the head from the off.
Yeah.
It's by far the most extensive one we've had thus far. And I say thus far, I mean we're on episode 10, but they keep getting longer and longer. So I mean, I imagine if you come back in a year or so, we'd have to kind of like start a half an hour earlier just to kind of get everything sorted.
We'll expect like a 5-page bio.
Yeah.
I mean,
dissertation.
It's a great way to go.
With sources. We need sources.
Yeah. More pages of hyperlinks.
That's fair. So I mean, where just before we kind of get into the questions, where are you at the moment? Are you sitting? Where are you working at the moment? As in, what are you working on at the moment?
So in terms of working, I've just released Islands Part 1 through Ambientologist, and we have agreed to bring out a part 2, which is amazing, which was great. Sam over at Ambientologist has just been probably the best thing to happen to Jupiter. Like he's having someone come in and say, right, this is what I'm going to do for you. Can you do this for me? And it's just, all of that is perfect. There was not one point did I kind of turn around and say, oh, that doesn't really work for me, or, I don't know. It was great from the off, and I was so chuffed when he said, let's do a second, because nice. There's 2 of us working on it now rather than just me, and it's nice. It's always hard with creating music, because I've always kind of let it happen to me. I don't sit down and force it. It's always either events in my life, or I won't kind of go in and say I have to write a song today and this is how long it's going to be, this is what's going to happen in it. It's kind of, I'll sit there, kind of just let it come to me in a way. Mm-hmm. It's hard to kind of describe, but I'm sure you guys have been there. Well, in that moment where you're just rolling.
Yeah, and it's something we've heard from a lot of other artists that we've talked to on this, that it just kind of flows out. They just let it come to them.
That's exactly it. And I like to wait for that. And, as you can see, it kind of only comes twice a year. I only kind of release 2 sort of demos a year, really. And this has given me deadlines to work on in a way, because, Sam's kind of said, well, I need it by then. And that's kind of helping me grow as a person, and definitely as a musician.
I mean,
because I'm learning to now sort of apply myself to projects.
Are you? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut across you. I think it's a bit latency.
No.
Are you? When you say, like, I mean, you have to be more disciplined. Are you like making yourself deadlines, trying to do those deadlines, kind of thing?
I do, yeah. But Sam's a busy guy, so I'll text him like, okay, well, I'll message him. Right, this is ready for maybe to be sent to mastering, stuff like that, and he'll say, oh, well, actually that album before you has been pushed back, so we're going to push you back a month. And to be honest, it's never a problem, because it just gives me more time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah. Which is great. So I never look at it in a bad way, Well, I mean, it's a shame we missed these Bandcamp Fridays, because these have been great. But we're going to the next year releasing in January, so that's great.
It's a good start to be. I mean, especially like people are like more free flowing. I think the year what it is, people are a bit more close to the chest, kind of thing. But I think in the new year, there's going to be kind of a space through.
This was something we talked about when we talked to Bad Bat Records. Josh and I were both like, well, why a label? And then he really brought that point up, and it completely changed how I looked at labels, because it's like you have another ear that can be objective to the music and tell you like, hey, this sounds great, or can you fix this? Can you change this? Is that what you felt working with him? Is that how you describe it?
I sit there and I'm like, I'm happy with that. And they'll go away and someone will go, that's shit. And you're like, oh, fuck, it is shit. You're like, and then not only that with the creative side of things, but, running, being an artist, there's so much that comes with it. It's, the music, it really is, 60%. The other 40, it's just, there's so much work, so much admin. And, he's taking a bit of that pressure off, and it's great. I keep 100%, no matter if there's 10 people helping me on my projects, 2 people, I will always just keep plowing out, my sort of hour a day to 2 hours a day kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Just because, it's fun. I like it.
But he's there to kind of help you with the support, all the back office stuff that is a bit more tedious, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a nice way to go. I wanted to, as we're speaking about the creative process in its own right, when you're writing your work, because your work is very free flowing, so it's hardcore ambient in that sense. Where do you begin?
It's different every time. It's so different. Either I'll apply a new technique I've learned. I'll go back to techniques I liked. It'll either start with just a guitar riff, piano, a couple of chords. One thing I did with Islands is I started with field recordings. So, because for the last few years I've been writing to imagery, what I would do is try and write to sound, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So I would, get really deep in a field recording that I've got with my headphones, and then I would try and write music to it. It was a really interesting technique. Yeah, that's pretty much how Islands started, because Islands is all based on the earth. And so I really tried to humanize it as much as possible. So I thought the best way of doing that would just be record the earth in as many locations as I could kind of get to, last year and the year before. This year has been really tough.
Yeah.
I've literally just been putting, in the park. That'll do. Yeah.
Well, they don't know.
So writing to field recordings, the imagery I write to a lot of. I set up a TV in my studio, and I'll just put visuals on, and I'll just write away to what I see. I sometimes write to old films that I like. I stick on films and just write my own, and then just start taking, bits that I like, sometimes bits that I don't like, try and fix them up. One I've just started today was literally just a simple arpeggiator. It's just going and going and going. So yeah, like I said, it's just different every time. But you're definitely right in terms of free flowing. I try and avoid structures. I try and kind of go where the music wants to in a way. Well, so I see.
Would you say you have a primary instrument that you find like you write most on, or does it change kind of like what you were saying depending on just the mood you have?
Yeah, it definitely changes. I mean, I'm trying to get my money out of the DeepMind 12 and the Big Sky at the moment.
So, dude, the Big Sky is, you can definitely get your money out of the Big Sky.
Yeah, I heard you guys are using that as, I was listening in the podcast, it's like a preamp, right?
It has a cabinet. It can emulate a cabinet, like a guitar cabinet.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's on the where the what's it called? The inserts are, or inputs. There's a little button, not button, but little flipper
it's like a switch
thing. Yeah, it's like the flicky switch. That's a good way to put it. That's the professional audio term for it, the flicky switch. And you just flick that flicky switch, and it starts doing its thing. I think Josh uses that as his actual amp. You don't use like a plug-in like guitar rig or something, right?
I haven't used an amp for about 3 years now. It's too lumpy. It's not quite as good as the Iridium. I've used the Iridium, the Strymon Iridium, and that's impeccable. I mean, Strymon always impeccable, but it needs a bit of compression and it needs a bit of work done after in post. But I mean, it's wonderful for what it is.
Yeah, I've had a lot of it, and now I wouldn't have known.
It's the little flicky switch on the right hand side.
I'd still recommend using a amp VST afterwards, depending on the sound you're going for. At least trying it. I don't like VST amps, but with that, it makes it sound a lot better.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, nice. But yeah, like I said, they're kind of my go-to grabs at the minute, just because I still feel like I'm getting my money's worth. You got to milk every penny out of these things.
Yeah.
I'm loving the Roland JV80 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think especially running that through the Big Sky. That's
Oh yeah.
I'm doing it for you. Okay, so your discography dates back all the way to 2012 on Spotify at the very least. Your releases are typically 4 to 6 track EPs. Do you normally prefer this shorter style of EP release?
I think so, yeah. I've always just gone with these sort of short bursts. Like I said earlier, it's these kind of conceptual chunks of ideas that, I'm going through in my life at that moment in the time, so it's kind of those creative sparks usually tend to pick up on what's happened, and then what I do is I sit down and then I sort of create order to them. I think the only time I force it is like I said, when there's deadlines, when I'm mixing. When I'm mixing, I'll try and do like a 9 to 5 if I get the time, and really kind of, when you go through every single individual stem to really try and
all too well.
That's the kind of when I'll sit down with a vat of coffee and kind of, a load of Ritalin and get to work.
I get on that one. Yeah.
So one of my EP, Evelyn, is about my time in hospital when I broke my leg, and I was out of it on oxycodone, during that time. So you can kind of hear that in the music. That was great. That one. Tosca is about, who was a lifelong cat of mine. 18 years I had him. Wow. So I kind of dedicated that whole EP to him. And then Abu, which is a track off Bones, it's dedicated to my late uncle who I lost that year. I literally sat down the moment I found out he died, and just kind of, it just happened, that song.
Oh, wow.
And I pretty much wrote that in half an hour. It's like just there and then, done, finished. I was like, sweet.
Wow.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. But yeah, like it was kind of the power of just that. Like I say, when these natural creative juices come flooding out, if I can control them, I can usually get some really good stuff out of them.
I mean, so it's like almost like snapshots, and like I mean, these. I'm like I say, I envision this idea of these momentary bursts of pure creativity from some form of emotion, whether it be positive or negative, in the back of your brain. Just kind
That's
of
exactly it. Yeah,
it's a very interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, and then I try and kind of, like I said, 9 to 5, the mixing and the ordering of the ideas that I have. Because I mean, I wake up and I'm like, when did I record this? When did this happen? You know, I'll look at it in the morning. It's like last night, that Instagram post I put up today. I don't even remember making that. I put it up at 4 a.m. It said, and I was like, what?
That's a lot of rattling.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. Gets the job done though. Eh?
Yeah, always, man, always.
So I definitely prefer the short releases. I mean, I think we're looking to combine part 1 and part 2 into an Islands album with a few more tracks. I think that'll be later on in the line. So that will be my first album. I think the idea of an album scares me, to be honest, though.
But it's just too big.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I think that by the time I come to release it, I'll be a different person in a way.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, it's not me at the time.
It takes so long to get to the end point that by the time you've done it, you're sick of where it's come from.
Yeah, you're like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
So aside from the EPs, you've constructed the soundtrack to the 2018 film Frontera, which is now on Amazon Prime. How did that come about?
Yeah, man. Well, I got quite lucky early on writing music to picture. It started out for like just friends at universities, college, just different students in their projects. And I got picked up by this small-time YouTube channel called Abandoned Scotland, and they would just do really nice drone shots of abandoned castles, football stadiums, jails, so much. It was crazy stuff, and it was really nicely shot. And he would just put ambient music at the back of all these videos. Next thing you know, his YouTube channel rockets, and we're getting thousands of views. And I'm suddenly writing music for video, and this was a year into me starting Jupi. I think 2011 was the first time kind of came out. So yeah, I kind of didn't really know what I was doing. I was just making sounds that I liked. But yeah, it just got picked up. And then from there, I met Jake. I met Jake on Reddit. He's the director of Frontera. I did he saw some of these videos, I believe, and I saw he liked what he heard and said that he would like some of those drones for his short film called The Newest. That then came out a couple of years later, and yeah, we found ourselves in 2018, and he came back and said, "Can you do the feature length?"
Wow.
So it's great because through all that time now, I've been doing it for like 8 years, writing to picture. I've met a lot of directors and filmmakers, and it's just fascinating to see how they all individually, creatively grow. And it's even better when they come back around and say, "Hey, I've got this bigger, better project you want in," and it's like, yeah, totally. Definitely. Yeah, I got really lucky with Canon cameras as well. I got a song put on an advert out there in Germany.
Oh wow,
that's cool.
So Canon cameras, and then landed a video game in 2018 as well, which was difficult because I've never worked with a developer before. They're definitely different.
Are you finding yourself? I mean, are you find yourself continuing down that route, or I mean, because you've got Jupiter, you've got through Ambientologist, and you've got all this stuff through here. Do you find yourself going towards the music for film, music for games, that kind of thing? Do you find yourself going down that route more? Is that more appealing to you at the moment?
Definitely, if I could establish that as like full-time work and income, I'd grab that in a second. It's especially when you get sci-fi directors saying, "I need ambient music," you're just like, okay, let's go. It's perfect. But then again, you can't if you want to be in this line of work, you need to learn as much as you can about different genres and what people need, and almost in a way, what genres work that shouldn't work. That seems to kind of stand out a lot in film. Mm. I know a lot of people love soundtracks where the music shouldn't really be the way it is. But yeah, catching film as for full-time work would be great.
I'm curious, for some of those soundtracks you've done, have you gone out of like the drone type of sound?
Yeah, so the video game, for example, that had to all be acoustic guitars, double bass. I had bongos in there. It was a lot of piano. So I really had to kind of come away and learn a lot, and which I already kind of have musical background playing piano and guitar, but never recording it to this higher quality. And loopable, everything has to be loopable with video games. Everything. Because you could be stuck on that song for 4 hours if you just left the game running. You need everything needs to be perfect. So
those loops have to
kind of
match
learning
up.
how to loop. Yeah, everything. Probably should have gone with Ableton for that, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, with using real instruments, that's got to be pretty tough.
Yeah, that's not what
that click is going round, and then you hear the mics. It winds me up so much. Getting a seamless loop with an acoustic guitar is, anyone that can do it's impressive work.
Well, that's
off to them.
Sorry, I mean that's an interesting. I mean, in the name of the writing process, when you're writing for Jupiter when you're writing for Jupiter, and then when you're writing for film, TV, and video games, how does your process change?
So directors will always have their briefs. They've always got what they want. Sometimes they don't, but 90% of the time they do. So what I'll do is I would always start with that, and then my techniques kind of start flooding in as they would. It's how you make music. And but like I said, I always try and learn something new with each project. So if I'll say I'm going to try and add trumpet to this, if that's all right. And then you're going to have 4 hours of me trying to learn the trumpet.
No MIDI here.
On your score, yeah. But so I try and add new things. But like I said, the directors usually come with their own briefs, and they'll say, "I want this, I want that. Can we do this?" The hardest one I get is when you don't get sent any visual; you just get sent a script. And especially when you combine that with a picky director, that can be very challenging. And other times you just get total free reign. Here's this, make what you want, which is the best.
It's always a nice place to be.
Are you one to go about looking and submitting to playlists? And if so, what's your strategy for that?
It just seems to grow itself now, to be honest. It's doing really well on Spotify. I mean, I find myself, I open up Spotify for artists and find myself a new playlist constantly now. And it's great. And I'll always give them a follow, drop them a message, say thank you if I can find them. But I've always been contacting people ever since the start. Like I said, I do an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, contacting labels, blogs, posting on social media, linking up with other artists, collabing, running my own playlist has done wonders for me. The Jupiter playlist, which I try and do once a month. And then what I try and do is advertise that out on Twitter, Instagram. And then these artists will have playlists of their own. You get onto them. So just kind of, I think just it's knocking on every door, isn't it? Just with a little cake in your hand saying, hey, I'm your new neighbour.
But together we grow stronger,
That's it. That's exactly it. And I'm loving these support groups that have sort of popped up in the last year with, it's just everything booming now. And I think it's only going to get better, especially for us, with these compilation albums, all the collaborative work we're doing. I mean, I was checking you guys out. It's like, yes, two sides of the world, coming together. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's at our fingertips. Let's abuse it.
It is. Like, I mean, the idea of, I mean, we're all in the bedroom and we're all we're inside and we're in a place where
or the kitchen
in the case, yeah. And the idea of taking it to the big outside world is big because I mean, you can't just sling a guitar on your back and go and recreate it elsewhere, can you? It's a lot of gear lying around, and then in the situation where we are now, that kind of thing, and things now with live streaming and digital marketing, things like that, it's never been easier to kind of just link up and just do stuff, and then you can only go up from there on out, and it is the perfect time, especially when everyone's stuck inside.
Yeah, I mean, we're all looking to create now, and we've got the time to do it. just abuse it. You'll never have this again in your life, honestly.
No.
Abuse it. One thing, a good friend of mine, Sim, he's a dubstep producer, great producer. He taught me to contact everyone that follows you on every social media. Just send them a message, and not just a copy and paste. Genuine. Hey, thanks for the follow. The stuff you get from that, honestly, you literally get friendships from it. It's crazy. Just sort of reaching out to anyone that's kind of taking the time to follow, or the power of a retweet. It's crazy.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah,
I'm writing that down.
No, honestly, changes the game. Just spark conversation with everyone. There's nothing wrong with it.
Because I feel like on Instagram especially, there's those people who just follow a ton of people and then unfollow them as soon as they follow back. But I would bet if you're sending like a unique message to them, they might be less inclined to unfollow.
It's social media. It's saturated with these people.
Oh yeah.
Even like you were saying with the playlists, there's people that I've spoke to in the past that are like, that's £20 a month.
Oh yeah, the pay for play stuff is ridiculous.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
No way.
Everyone's looking for that human connection. Especially in our world, when we're all kind of like I say, stuck in our room, kind of in the corner, kind of thing, And when someone gets back to you and does something about that, instantly there's that click, and you're there. It's there's nothing more humbling, I suppose, when there is that genuine connection which comes through. Alex, do you want to give us any kind of inkling as to when part 2 is coming out?
Yeah, so part 2 is scheduled to release January. My birthday's in January, so that's probably going to be the first date that I pitch to the label, which is the 22nd.
Nice.
So I'm probably going to pitch,
Then people are guilt tripped into going and like.
Yeah, that's it. Nice little birthday present to myself,
Exactly.
There you go. And Alex, where can people find you on your socials?
All of them. Instagram, Jupiter Sound on Twitter, Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. I'm out there.
Well, that's
if
great.
You need to sleep. Well,
that's lovely. Well, thank you so much for coming to sit down and talk to us. It's been really enlightening to see you come through.
Yeah, massive fan of what you guys are doing, honestly. The start of something huge.
Absolutely amazing sitting down with Jupiter. One of those where you've been speaking to a guy for a long time, and then to put a voice and a face to a name, it's always exciting. And to hear more about his production, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, not just the production, but just his approach to music, but also what he had to say about why he joined a record label, how he uses his day job that influences his work. I also really liked, in terms of socials and branding, the whole idea of trying to send a unique message to someone when they follow you.
Yeah, it's a very nifty tip to get through. The idea of just engaging with the people who follow you first. Not a lot of us think about doing that, do we? And it's great.
No, and it's just they we've talked about it. There's so many people that just follow, unfollow, do all this stuff. I feel like you taking the initiative and sending a message kind of changes things a little bit, changes the context, I guess.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's nice to see. Really nice to see. So we will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. If you want to get more in the meantime, you can catch us on Instagram and Twitter at Audionautic Sounds and Audionautic respectively.
Thanks for listening. We'll have new episodes every other week at 1500 UTC. In between those, we will have our new Audionautic radio broadcast. We'd love to see you in the stream. And if you'd like to submit, you can submit to audionauticsounds@gmail.com.